I see a thumbs up, but okay, there we go. So I've got cameras decided to work on here, and I've got sound on my phone. So I love technology. Okay, let's try that again. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't get any dodgy stuff. So yeah, just a bit of housekeeping around respectful engagement, and just to kind of run through. I know that there's been quite a lot of backlash, and if you follow South African media, you would have seen that there is people complaining around the funding that's been allocated, people complaining around who's involved in setting it up. But I think I wasn't initially going to get involved, and then I kind of sat back and really thought about it and thought, you know what, I actually see more potential and more opportunity to use this as a tool for those of us to get abroad to get more involved. And I think it's just somebody had to do something, someone had to get the ball rolling. So I think, once the steering committee is elected, then it's down to the public, and they've been saying that it's going to be community-led, and that's what they're pushing for. So once we're over these initial hurdles, fingers crossed, it will be a lot smoother. What else do I want to say quickly? So just, this is not a novel idea. Other countries have held similar dialogues with the diaspora. I haven't had time to look at any of them, but it's something that we can look at. We can look at which countries, what's worked for those countries as we kind of build our own engagements, dialogues, projects that come off the back of it and things like that. So I'm just conscious of time, so I'm going to hop over to Anzio. I don't know if you want to come on and give a bit of background. So Anzio Jacobs is a project specialist working for Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. He's a program officer for child and safety protection, but today he's joining us in his capacity as a member of the organizing committee, and going forward he will be coordinator for the civil society caucus during this national dialogue process. So I just want to see if Anzio, are you on? You are. I don't know if you can unmute yourself and pop your video on.
And good afternoon.
There we go.
Hi, am I audible?
I can hear you. I don't know if everyone else can just give us a thumbs up or.
Yes.
I'm so sorry for the background noise. I'm traveling. I'm actually down in the Western Cape at the moment. So my name is Anzio Jacobs. I'm one of the convention organizing committee. Just a brief background. The convention organizing committee came about as a response, in essence, to the pull out of a couple of the foundations who were part of the preparatory task team for the National Dialogue Convention, which was to kick off the process. And so about 8 days before the process was to go live, there was a notification and a call for an urgent meeting in response to the pullout of the 6 legacy foundations from the convention itself. I think it is important to share that at the time that this was happening, the media misrepresented that the foundations were pulling out of the broader dialogue process, when in fact their letters stated emphatically that they were pulling out of the convention and not the dialogue more holistically. So it was about 8 days before the convention took place that the convention organizing committee was established. Our task was simple. It was really to ensure that the convention did take place and that all of the arrangements that were necessary to ensure its success were were well organized, and subsequently then to report on the process and hand over to the incoming steering committee. So that's the role of the convention convention organizing committee. Since the convention took place, the work of the committee has been really to report on the process, and just to let you know, because these are hot topics, a very big component of the report and an important component of the report is the financial transparency around the process. So that will be shortly announced, kind of what was done with this money, just to demystify and clarify for everyone on the call, there was a lot of media spectacle around a number of 700 million. That number is infactual and indeed was not the number that was eventually agreed to by presidency. That number will be publicly announced in due course, and so I won't share it here, but it is not 700 million rand, and in fact it should be less significantly than that amount, because the president himself felt that that amount was too great for the purposes of the national dialogue. There is an intention for the national dialogue process in its entirety to be co-funded. There is a desire to have 60% of the funding coming from the state, with a balance of 40% funding being fundraised by corporates and civil society actors alike. Of course, this will unfold in lifetime, and so there's no saying at this moment what that will look like practically, because the commitments are yet to be made formally. But there have been very good faith commitments to date. So one of those, as the lead up to the national convention was happening, was UNISA coming forward and saying they would give the venue free of charge and would provide catering for the first national convention. And it's that type of contribution that is being sought as the national dialogue process continues in order to support it in its entirety. With that said, I think it's important to call out that the Convention Organizing Committee will cease as a structure on the 8th of September formally. And then there will be a handover period that will last from the 8th of September until the end of September. It is in that process that the Convention Organizing Committee will work with the incoming steering committee to orient them to the process, to share all information as it's available, and to ensure that the incoming steering committee is capacitated to do the work that they need to do going forward. Of course, that does not mean that the Convention Organizing Committee will disappear from the face of the earth, but rather we will take a step back, noting that it was advised and called on that in this process, that South Africans have a say in choosing those who will lead the process, and in responding to that, the Convention Organizing Committee is doing the due diligence of making sure that the reporting is comprehensive, that there is a clear understanding of what it is that the convention, or the steering committee rather, needs to do in the coming months. And as we said, then to clear the channels with the other streams. So there is, for example, the eminent persons group. The eminent persons group are the guarantors of this process. And so after the eminent persons group have engaged with the steering committee, they will also then be introduced to the interministerial cluster, who will be in large responsible for the rapid response mechanism that is being envisioned in this process. So as a broad outline, I hope that that is useful. I'm happy to field any questions. The reason I'm in this meeting, as with other meetings, is because the Convention Organizing Committee are meant to be playing an observer role in the meetings to ensure that they're happening in accordance with the guidelines that have been shared. And also just to emphasize, in this particular instance, this cluster is understood as one of three within the immigration sector broadly. And so it is also important to then state that because of some of the major contentions around immigration and migration, that the groups are being convened separately just to avoid conflict, but they will ultimately culminate in the context of the steering committee, and the orientation will happen thereafter. But as I said, I'm happy to field any other questions, and thank you for having me in the meeting.
Thanks, Anzio. That's a far better job than I could have done in giving the sort of overview. So just to let you guys know, I couldn't get it live streaming on YouTube. It is live streaming on Facebook, so they would have missed most of what Anzio's just said, but it will be recording to the cloud, so I'll pop it onto the YouTube and then share across all my social media and email and things afterwards. So if anyone is joining on Facebook, apologies. It was just an overview from Anzio, who is on the organizing committee of the National Dialogue, just kind of running through the process to this point and then what's going to happen next. So this meeting is ultimately around how us putting forward at least 3 names And as Anzio has just said, so I'm pushing for us to be recognized as a sector on its own. And the dialogue, the committee had already come up with a list of 22 sectors, which is religious groups, political parties, civil society groups, women, GBV, and those kinds of things. So well, we are 1 million strong, and I'm going to push for that. But understandably, if you ended up with 100 sectors, each having 2 or 3 people, it's like 300 people for them to try and manage. It's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's going to be really, really difficult. So it seems like, as Anzio has just mentioned, we will be part of the immigration migration sector, which means there would be one person from us, and then 2 others allocated to different groups. So potentially only 1 seat at the table. Unlikely that we'll get the 3 seats at the table, but this is really for us to nominate who sits on that table. Now, obviously, I've been championing this, and as I have been saying in my media interviews and on my social media, I know that I have already been nominated by 1 civil society organization in South Africa. Another one has said that they will be submitting, but I can't just be like, hey, me, rah, rah, rah. It needs to be a community-led initiative. So it's an opportunity for those on the call, basically to discuss anyone else that wants to come forward to nominate themselves, or if you want to nominate another person, and then how do we decide from whoever's nominated who sits at that table, because it could be somebody from one of the chambers of commerce or another group in the diaspora, another diaspora leader. So just kind of, I want this to be open to you guys. So I want to kind of take a step back. And I don't know if Anzio, I know you said you might not be able to stay on for the full call, but if you want to hop in, if anyone does have any questions before we get going with it, if you do want to nominate anybody, yeah, but I need to just kind of take that step back and make sure that this is over to the diaspora to make this choice of who we put forward. And then again, putting 3 names forward, having it in order of preference. So if you guys say we want Joe Blogs, and there's more people wanting Joe Blogs, we put Joe Blogs as number 1, I don't know, Anne Blogs as number 2, and pick a name for number 3. So yeah, and then if you want to make that decision with the people on this call, or if we want to keep it open until maybe Sunday evening, because Monday is the deadline, and kind of allow a wider cast of those abroad to participate. You know, if there are any other nominations that come through, or if we have any objections. So I'm going to hand it over to those of you on the call, and Anzio, I don't know if you want to come back on and facilitate this part, because again, conflict of interest, I need to kind of step back on this part.
I'm happy to come back on, but it will really just be to observe this particular segment. As you've noted, as a nominee, you would not be eligible to oversee this part of the process, and so I'm happy to play that role if there are names being put forward at this point.
Okay, great. So anyone on the call, if you want to stick your hand up, unmute yourself, if you want to nominate anybody, and if there aren't, sorry, if there aren't any nominations that come from this call, then I think I will put it to public and share it across on, I think, something crazy like 200 Facebook groups of expats around the world, different WhatsApp groups across my social media, to allow for, you know, for it to be cast wider and opened wider. And ideally, if we do get, and then it's just, how do you guys think, if we get 5 people that are nominated, we need to ideally by kind of Sunday evening have those top 3 names. So over to anyone on this call. Again, this is completely community-led. It's open. Any ideas or suggestions you guys have around how we can make sure that come Monday, we have those 3 in order of preference, with number 1 in case we can only get 1 seat, so that we can make that submission.
I'll say something. Hedy, very happy for you to nominate you again. To be honest, I'm going to be a passenger rather than put myself forward. But yeah, just I've got no real interest in being nominated. So please, from my side, happy to nominate you and for you to represent us.
Okay, I see there's a couple of other people with unmuted mics. I don't know if anyone else would like to make any comments at all. And I'm just going to look on my Facebook as well, just in case anybody.
Afternoon, Kaylee.
Hi, Xolani, how are you doing? Long time no chat.
A long time, eh? No, I thought I was quickly just joined. I thought I joined at the time. Adrian was explaining some process and procedures. Firstly, thank you for creating such platform where we can be able to engage on the issues that are currently being debated in the Republic of South Africa. I just want to make it very short on the nominees. I can forward my name as a South African representative on the South African business abroad from that level aspect. Then I will exchange details and try to see what we can do in support for this cause to go forward positively. Thank you very much.
Okay. Xolani, do you want to just maybe give a brief background? I mean, I know you personally, I've known you for many, many years. Do you want to just give a brief background around yourself and your involvement with the South African community?
Okay, thank you for that privilege, Hayley. I was first involved with the South African Youth Development Abroad, whom it was a structure created by then the late South African High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Lindiwe Mabuza. That was in 2004. The responsibility of that platform, it was to make sure that we channel and direct all the cause, all the challenges that are facing South Africans, particularly the youth in the UK. I've led from that position. I was then the head of the South African Youth Development, also in the UK. We were not focusing internationally, but we were focusing in the UK purely because it also affects parents who are South Africans in the UK, and they were having challenges with where their children are supposed to go, where do they connect, and if they have visa problem and issues with immigration or issues at school, how do we connect? And I think at that time, it was when the South African passport was moving from the old document to a biometric. And then I had the privilege of knowing how many people were using these passports who were not South Africans. So that it being said, I also had the privilege of being a first African director, Black in particular, to the Chamber of Commerce here in the UK. So I served my time. And then I had the privilege of being the head of the African National Congress in the UK, served my term, and I was then appointed as a South African Business Abroad CEO, which I'm currently in position of. What we do, we create opportunities for people in South Africa. We bring huge institution finance, steel, metal, rubber, and also investment, business, and trade. So it's a platform that have created a lot of jobs and have brought a lot of investment into South Africa. But to cut, Kaylee, to come to what you are talking about, in particular, the dialogue, I feel very strongly, very, very, very strongly, as I was the first person under the institution of the South African Youth Abroad. Some of the colleagues I work with, they were representative of the DA, they have left. They are now in the UK and they're doing very well with the DA in South Africa. We were the first people to launch an argument to the South African Constitutional Court to allow South Africans to vote abroad. So I was one of the first people to launch this, and we held several peaceful protests in the UK. Why I'm saying this is because I support very strongly what Hayley is coming up with, because it gives the voice for South Africans abroad to raise what is the concern for them while they are residing abroad, and also what is the concern for their beloved one in South Africa. The fact that we are out of South Africa, it doesn't limit us to contribute because we're still having the green passport, and it is our democratic rights to contribute, and it's our constitutional right to contribute. That's what perhaps I could say for now, Haley. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. So I can share I know there was 2 emails. So there's the general, I'm just putting it up, and maybe Anzio can help me here, because there were 2 emails. There was one which is the national dialogue at nedlac.org.za, and then I think there was another one specific for people to nominate, submit their nominations rather. And I'm gonna have to try and go through a couple of emails to try and find it. So, and I think just for transparency of what that, it's basically just sending an email for nomination. So I'm not sure, again, I don't want to control this process. If you guys are happy if somebody puts themselves forward, you're happy for them to be put forward. If anybody wants to second Xolani, you know, for him to stand as a candidate as well, again, this is over to you guys. So if anyone would like to unmute their mic, and anyone else has got any comments to add, I don't want to control this process again, because I have already been nominated, so it's not fair for me to handle it. So maybe I should, if you guys are all shy, I might have to like pick on people.
Haley, I am here and the process is going fine. So I'm just lending my voice to say it's still okay. You are doing an okay job, and I am monitoring still.
Okay, perfect.
Haley,
yes.
Haley, sorry, I have a question. So as a representative, what is actually involved in terms of time requirements, input? You know, what does the kind of role look like over a course of, you know, however long?
Sure. So if I don't know if Anzio wants to jump in, because you'll be able to give me give off the top of your head. I would have to go onto that steering committee document and read through. So do you want to answer that one?
Yes, so in short, the steering committee will lead the process of the implementation of the national dialogue for the next couple of months. And in practical terms, what that will look like will be making decisions around how the national dialogue will work from day to day. It will be kind of initiating streams of work. So there will be, for example, a communication substream, a program substream, I'm just trying to think, a legal substream, a finance substream, and all of those substreams will then enable the work of the national dialogue. In essence, the steering committee is going to then be the leadership structure and the implementation structure over the next 12 months. It is a voluntary role. The frequency of meetings will be determined by the steering committee, but presently the convention organizing committee, was meeting a minimum of twice a week. And those meetings are then not only with the structure of the steering committee, but there will be secondary meetings that will take place with the eminent persons group, who are the guarantors of the process, and also with the interministerial cluster, who would be responsible for rapid response in the process. So that's what the role will entail. Depending on where one finds themselves during that work, there will be kind of different responsibilities, but all to say that the process will have an ongoing kind of engagement for the full extent of the national dialogue, and it is voluntary, while resources will be provided to those that are volunteering to ensure their participation. I hope that helps.
Perfect. I've just popped a link in the chat if you guys want to have a look at it. So it's got some of the documents from the launch convention. So it's got like the day 2, you can see like the discussion that happened, and then further down it's got about the steering committee, the process, the mandate, the nomination process, etc. So if you want to have a look, and then that steering committee one I have also put on the website. So if you go operationwatershed.com, along the top it says national dialogue. If you click on that, scroll through my kind of text and blurb at the bottom. It's a little bit tricky because I've had to embed it, so it might be a bit small, so it's probably easier to look on this nationaldialogue.co.za/resources link, and then you can actually download the document from there. It'll be easier. So as you said, it's basically just a voluntary commitment for these kind of probably about 8 or 9 months until the second convention, which is May-June, date to be decided yet. So I think it's going to be a lot of facilitation and administration kind of work. So I don't know if if that puts you off, or if you still want to throw your name in the hat at all.
Hayley,
Sorry,
if I may come in.
oh, sorry. Thank you.
This is Matthew Hughes. Hayley, first and foremost, to everybody who initiated this opportunity, I want to give my thanks and support. I heard about it at the 11th hour. I live in the United States, and I have business interests in South Africa, in the mining sector. We employ many people. And something that concerns me gravely is the lack of opportunity, even for those who are employed, because of the situation in South Africa. We have many incredibly loyal team members, been with us for many years. But at the end of the day, you've got to keep the ship afloat. And it's rather difficult to even provide increases and benefits that you would, although I do believe we do a very good job, but we don't do as good a job as we would like. I travel to South Africa once a month from the United States. I just got back yesterday. And so first and foremost, I wish to just thank whoever is involved here for the initiative. You're asking for nominations. I'm not going to nominate myself, but what I will do is make myself available in any which shape that you folks need support. As I live in the US, I've been here for 12 years. One of my other greatest concerns is some of our employees, staff members who are leaving South Africa for better opportunities in the mining space. We started the company 17 years ago. And I assure you, some of the relationships that have been developed over those 17 years are incredible. And so I started the company, and what concerns me gravely is the amount of correspondence I have from ex-staff members living in Australia, in the US, in Canada, asking me if there's any way they could return to the company. And they want to know what's going on. Are there any merits? So, nobody wants to be living abroad. I think many people, it is a choice, and I do have a choice. But if I had a choice, it would be in a stable South Africa where there are opportunities for all. Part of my reason for leaving was to seek opportunities in North and South America for our company to grow, to create better career paths for our colleagues. So again, I'm available in any which form you require. I do interact at very high levels in the United States. I have had meetings with senators in person. I have another meeting in 2 days' time with the senator who is in charge of Appropriations Committee, as well as the chairman for the Senate Committee on Armed Forces. I had a meeting 2 weeks ago with the US Africa Chamber of Commerce, who share, a strong desire to promote US Africa relations. And they certainly have said that they will support me in any initiative I have to grow that relationship. And so I just wish to provide a little bit of insight as to who I am. When all's said and done, I'm here to serve. I think our country needs servants, and any which way that you require assistance, I'm available, and I travel once a month. So getting to any meetings, I know, technology allows us to do this remotely, but I'm available and do wish to help wherever required.
That's music to my ears. So I'm not sure who on the call, I know some of you know me, some of you might not, and I've been involved in the global community for more than a decade. And over the last sort of 5 years, moving into the civil society space. And last year, via my boss, he was on a phone call, and all I hear is, "Oh, you need to speak to Hayley." So I said, "What's that about?" "No, they're looking for contacts in government in South Africa." And again, I know with Golani and the business links. And fast forward the conversation with that person he was on the call to. It's two South African guys. They run a infrastructure management company here in the UK, and they've done loads of big projects around the world. I happen to then connect them with the head of infrastructure in South Africa. So we had a delegation come to the UK with a couple of ministers last year. On their last morning, we met them at their hotel, and then the one guy from the company ended up going to South Africa. I think it was in February, and I need to actually touch base with them and see what's happening. But basically, this company has access to a lot of big funders, and I'm talking big funders and in the infrastructure space, and they are funders who want to invest in Southern Africa. So those are the kinds of conversations, and Matthew, what you just said with the links with, at the end of the day, I believe and I think a lot of people believe that a lot of the other problems in the country can be managed if we can grow the economy. We need that economy to be between 3 to 5%. If we can grow the economy, and it's also like, well, how do we do that? And this, for me, it's about, I've gone on my personal journey of becoming an active citizen and lobbying and fighting with certain politicians and all the rest of it. But it's, how do you lobby? How do you be an active citizen? Because so many abroad are like, I'm just one person, what can I do? And I'm like, well, I was just one person when I joined the DA abroad, and in the 2014 elections, noticed how many people were saying that they were turned away from registering, that they've been told they lost their citizenship. Did the homework, lobbied for that to be a campaign. Yes, it's taken 11 years, but May of this year, we finally have that loss of citizenship case over the line, which I hope, because there's a lot of people who have lost their citizenship who want to contribute, they want to vote. So for me, it's just building on the knowledge that I've got, building on the knowledge that Tolani's got, that Matthew's got, that anybody else has got, and pooling all of our resources. And that's exactly what I want. If we can, I don't know, I'm not in that space. I know there's a lot of red tape around business investment into South Africa, lots of hoops and hurdles for people, foreign investment that has to get through. I don't know what those are. I just know that they are. So what are they? How do we go about leveraging? There are lawyers abroad who've got experience in that space. If they can offer their time and their knowledge, how do we go about lobbying to minimize those, some of that red tape legislation, to open up doors for foreign investment, to grow more jobs in the economy? So economic growth for me is like massive. And then there's other areas. It could be education, the charity sector. So I know, I don't think they're on the call, but there's a couple of people involved with a platform called Izinga Assist, which is, so here in the UK, you have the Charity Commission, and everything is, you have to submit your documents, you've got to be above board on, and there's a lot more kind of due diligence and regulation in the charity sector. That isn't the case in South Africa. So they are, it's guys from Africa to Kun, which is quite a big charity in South Africa, and other people in that space. And their idea is they do this vetting process of charities in South Africa. So if you've gone through their vetting process, you're listed on their site. They also have a donation platform. So anyone who's donating through their platform knows that that charity is legit, and over and above that, also they are looking at ways that they can support those charities. So it could be maybe they need assistance with their accounting, with their HR, with whatever it might be. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for the charity sector. That's something that's really important to me. So it could be lobbying for agriculture, it could be importing, exporting. With EU regulations, I'm going back quite a few years ago now, I don't know the details, but something around South African government didn't fulfill some legislation, some veterinarian related something, which put a stop to a lot of export of chocolates across some Blackwell mayonnaise. How do people make potato salad abroad? So, if we can open up the doors for export. So I'm part of the LACA network, which is a membership-based initiative for South Africans around the world, and there's quite a few in South Africa, and it's how can we drive that business? How can we drive that export market to get South African products to different markets across the globe, which will help keep those businesses' doors open, help them grow, help create more jobs, all of that kind of stuff. So it is, and then in terms of, obviously, this point of this is to get somebody onto that steering committee to be recognized. Even if that doesn't happen, we still need to pull together. So if it does happen, we have somebody at that level, fantastic. It gives us, opens more doors for us. But that's not the be all or end all. Like, we need to kind of form our own subcommittee. And Matthew, if you want to pick up on the business investment stuff and you want to get like 20 people working with you on that, great. You know, we'll need people for different sectors and for different projects and campaigns. A lot of you who know me know that I do a lot of Home Affairs, consular service lobbying. So there will be different projects. And I think it's just everybody goes, South Africa, problem after problem after problem. I'm one person. What can I do? So it's trying to help. Where is your passion? Where is your experience? What do you want to get involved in? If it's an hour a week that you can contribute, great. If you can't get involved, but you can share posts on social media and just kind of have your ear to what we're doing, fantastic. Whatever it might be, if you can give 5 minutes once a month, if you can give 5 hours every month, it's literally just trying to connect people and have people contributing. It doesn't matter how small it is, every little contribution will ultimately add up and make a difference. So sorry, welcome to my
Hayley,
talk.
okay. Hayley, if I may come in, you know, I don't want to sound abrupt in any way. I feel folks have made themselves available for this conversation, and that in itself is, you know, is great. It's good support. I don't wish to be part of a pipe dream or any endeavor that has not got measurable, actionable outcomes. And it appears as though folks who are on this platform right now have the same wish and goals as well. Who would be administrating this process in terms of, let's say, setting up meetings or administration? Because naturally, you know, everybody still needs an income, everybody needs to have their day jobs, and so I'm curious to know what is available. Where I'm heading with it is I am prepared. You know, we have a wonderful office in Bloemfontein. We have a lot of space. I'm prepared to donate space. I'm also prepared to recruit somebody and pay their salary, you know, to act as a support function. You know, some of the discussions that you said, as well as Olani, were aimed at, let's say, legal matters. I know that I feel that there are some very, very good lawyers who probably live abroad now, who would be prepared to give their time. But if we, you know, they still need to earn an income, and I am prepared to pay certain retainers to alleviate any pressures on them for the time that they avail, because I think the last thing we want is to have this great idea but not be able to action it. And so, you know, I really want to put my weight behind this in any way that I can.
Brilliant. So on that, so I, about a year before last year's elections, started thinking around the need for a civil society initiative focusing on South Africans abroad. So that's why I came up with the Operation Watershed. And then it was straight into hard campaign to get people overseas registered, dealing with registration issues, voter turnout, like planning here in London with the 2-day planning and working with the IEC and the High Commission and things like that. So that was a huge push for me personally. Again, like you said, people have got jobs, people have got families, and I actually went into burnout after that. And then I'd met somebody who wasn't quite the right fit. So basically, to register an NPO in South Africa, you need to have 3 directors, and I was trying to find the right people. So, and then like, again, personal life kind of took over for the last year. So but I do believe everything happens for a reason. So when I came back from my pre-election trip, and it was 2 days before we voted overseas, the BizNews, Alec Hogg runs BizNews media platform. He had an event here in London, went along to it. One of the speakers there, well, there were 2 speakers, one who I'd actually spent a morning with in Soweto on my pre-election trip. He's very involved with the township economy space, which I find really fascinating. His name's Gigi Alcock. And then another chap called Warren Wheatley, who runs Altivest Alternative Investments. They launched on, is it Joburg or Cape Town Stock Exchange? And they pushing really, really hard. And so connected with him, he's also in support of what we're trying to achieve through a civil society initiative for those abroad. And then I met with Nicholas Bauer, who he's a journalist, based in Spain. He does carte blanche stories, so you might have seen some of his stories appearing. He also runs a charity from Ponty Towers in Johannesburg called the Gladla and J program project. So we are looking to formalize this, register as an NPO, obviously set up everything above board, the banking, and then have what I would like, because I'm very sticky on wanting full transparency. So having people involved, leading campaigns. If we need to fundraise for a specific project, if it's lobbying, if it's a court case to lobby to reduce red tape in importing or whatever it is, then, and it's going to cost, say, 3 million rand, then we drive that. If there are private donors, individuals, other organizations willing to get involved in those, great. But you highlight a key thing, which is administration. I'm struggling doing all the stuff that I do. I try and champion as much as I can, but I'm a single parent, I'm self-employed, and just doing the home affairs stuff, because everybody comes to me with their queries. I'm sitting on probably, I think I've replied to, 200 messages in the last week and a half. I still have probably about 150 more to go. And people are sending me cases. I've got a 20-year-long re-registration of birth case, a 7-year-long blocked ID case of someone in America. And so I'm trying to build a working relationship with Home Affairs because of the consular service issues, but also kind of push back on them. And that in itself, I'm up till 2, 3 o'clock every morning. So it's, how do we manage this? How do we manage the time? And like you say, you know, if people like yourself and others can come forward and we can have people in paid roles to run the administration, great. You know, we do, through the work that I've done, I've been able to build up a network of like politicians and civil society groups in South Africa that I know of. And again, it's not us reinventing the wheel. There's so many people in South Africa doing incredible work. So how can we connect those abroad who are interested in a specific sector and link them with the guys in South Africa? There's no point in us starting a new project, fundraising for a new project, if it's already in existence in South Africa. So it's kind of just getting those nuts and bolts, getting the administration, having things transparent, and choosing a couple of key projects. And a big thing for me in this process over the next kind of 8-9 months is, because of the backlash of, oh, it's just a talk shop. It's just a talk shop. ANC are using it to try and get back votes with the local elections next year. I don't, and because there will be pushback on, I mean, some of the interviews that I've done the last couple of days, if you go and look on the social media posts of those media platforms, and the pushback of, oh, why should South Africans abroad? You've left, you've abandoned us, you know, stay in Europe, stay wherever you are. So I don't want it to just be 8-9 months of us talking and we submit here's our ideas. I want us in the next 8-9 months to go, not only are these our ideas that maybe are too big for us to implement, but this is what we've already done in the last 8-9 months. We've already connected people in business, in whatever it might be. So I want us to, come the end of this process, already have the numbers, have this is what we've done and this is what we are doing, so we can actually show the track record. Yeah, and again, it's just, my whole driver is for us to be recognized by the South African government, and for them to lean on us effectively towards helping. So sorry, I'm rattling off a lot and I'm conscious of time. So yeah, it's very much down to us. It's very much down to you sticking your hands up and saying, hey, I can help. This is what I can offer. And that's exactly what I want out of this. So I'm just conscious of time and keeping focused on the core of this meeting. And then, so we've got until the 8th of September for submissions. Xolani, I'll reach out to you separately around submitting a nomination with the email addresses. And if anybody else, maybe not on this call, if you want to message me separately, if you think you're putting yourself or someone else forward, again, I've got the one email address, but the other one, which is specifically for the nominations, I don't have. I'll have to go and find it. Or Anzio might be able to pop one and give it to us. And it is really just, and from Anzio's perspective and the committee's perspective, it's just, the whole idea is that each sector formalizes themselves, meets, engages, and then puts forward their names to the steering committee. So whoever's on that steering committee is the point of contact between, like, the eminent person group, and across, they have some members of government as well involved. But it's just that person will be responsible for driving, all the organization and forming subcommittees of people and getting people operational effectively. I feel like I wanted to say something else, and now I've gone blank on what I was going to say. The other thing that I want to say is, so we get submissions in by the 8th of September. They approve whoever is on that steering committee. Hopefully we have at least one person on that committee, and then it's just down to us meeting again. And it really is, this is where the whole community-led thing really comes in. It's we meet, we get ourselves organized, we set up whatever administration things we need to organize. If it's registering the NPO, if it is getting bank accounts, doing everything above board legal in line with legislation and finance and everything in South Africa. And then for me, this process is about dialogue. And I want to have two elements, the dialogue and actually getting things done. So in the dialogue aspect, we could pull on the contacts. It's actually really easy to connect with politicians. People think it's hard, but it's actually not. So we can get the politicians, try and set up meetings online like this with the different ministers, deputy ministers, different opposition party leaders, people who sit on the portfolio committees that are linked to whatever projects we want to run. So whether it is public works, agriculture, home affairs, DIRCO, all of that. And because the one thing that I find is people are quick to complain, but they don't actually know what the challenges are on the other side. And that's something that I've picked up with. And yes, there's things that they could be doing better, but it's also understanding like underfunding, understaffing at all our foreign missions. It's understanding the processes behind the scenes with home affairs, why there's long delays on our passports, why things are going wrong. So it's trying to kind of take a step back and be a little bit pragmatic of these are their frustrations, these are their challenges, these are the outcomes that we want. How can we, it's kind of push-pull factor, how can we lobby them, but how can we also support them? And some of you would have seen I'm putting out the videos and the content to just try and get, like, with people doing their passport applications, people aren't filling in their forms properly, people don't have all their documents. So it's trying to just, how can we minimize some of the easy frustrations? Like, how can we get rid of some of those easy frustrations so that we can focus on core matters, and have that open relationship? And I put out in one of my videos the other day, like, across all the different parties, party leaders, politicians that I speak to, they're all like, we need you guys. Like, we can't save the country by ourselves. We need civil societies to step up. We need you guys involved. So, again, it's over this course of like decade of my involvement, I've seen that there's such a, what's the word? There's such a like break between everyone kind of goes, oh, politicians, they up there and we are just mere little mortals down here. And it's like, how can we bridge that gap, and create that cohesive kind of working environment? So yeah, I don't know, I've been talking a lot. So I don't know if, Anzio, if you've got anything to say, if anybody else has got any comments or questions, and then we can look to wrap up. And also if you guys want to give happy to keep this open in case anybody else sees the video that I'll share, and wants to nominate themselves. Somebody might see this on Sunday and not know anything about it and want to put their name in the hat. And then again, if we end up with, say, 5 names, how do we go about lastminute.com before Monday's deadline, putting them in order? So it's just over to you guys of how do we manage the process over the next couple of days so that come Monday we can put in, it could be we only get 2 people, maybe it's Tolani and myself, it could be we have 5 people. So over to you guys, any ideas around how do we manage it that we have those names? And also because, like Anzio mentioned at the beginning of the call, it sounds like we're going to be put in a subsector under immigration and migration, which means there is only one person on that steering committee for the diaspora. So how do we, within ourselves, be happy that whoever gets put forward, any one of those, or if there's a preference for somebody, like, how do we manage that? I hope that makes sense. looks like Anzio has actually dropped off the call. Oops, sorry.
Haley, sorry. So in the link that you put into the chat, is that where we can find all the necessary information?
Yeah, so let me just quickly go open that link up. Sorry, I have got far too many tabs open. So national, just in case, because I'm live streaming on my Facebook, and if anyone sees this when I put it on YouTube later, so it's nationaldialogue.co.za/resources/ and it's got the day 2 program, NDSA program, and then the third document is the steering committee process, and you can download it off there. And it just, so role and mandate of the steering committee, principles of establishing the steering committee, composition, talking about the different sectors, it lists the sectors that they've identified, the process. Let me just quickly open this up on my laptop so I can read it. I just want to see if, because then I can give you guys the email addresses in case anybody wants to nominate. So this when they held this convention, the idea was that they would form the sectors and nominate people at the convention, and then people at the convention said, but hey, hang on, we, even within this room, don't all know each other. So that they put the extension to the 31st of August, and now they've extended it again to the 8th of September. I'm just trying to see if there is an email address on here. There isn't. You guys just bear with me for 1 second. I'm just going to try and pull up, and then I'll put the email addresses in the chat. Because it was one of the civil society guys that was actually at that convention on the weekend that sent me the email address. So I just want to quickly see if I can find it. And there's the one. Sorry, 1 second. My internet's a little bit slow. So here I know is the one email address. Let me just stick that in. So that's nationaldialogue@nedlac.org.za. And then I just want to go see if I can find the second one. So I was going to remember who I spoke to and who sent it to me. Where is it? Where is it? There we go. So I find the link. I'm just going to copy and paste. So this was an email from the National Dialogue team to one of the other people who attended the event. And the subject is next steps in constituting the steering committee. So I'm going to attempt to just copy and paste this onto the chat. It's a bit long. I don't know if it's going to let me. No, that's not going to let me. Too many words. Otherwise, what I can try and maybe do is like screenshot it and then send it out to you guys on email. And I think there was, I'm just trying to find that second email address, which was, oh, there we go. Yeah, let me just copy and paste this section. There we go. There's the other email address. So just in case anybody's watching on the video, it is nationaldialogue@nedlac.org.za and convention@nationaldialogue.co.za. Those are the two email addresses to, if anybody wants to nominate themselves. then that is how to do it. Just pop them an email, or if you want to nominate somebody else. If you are nominating someone else, please actually have a conversation with them if they're happy to be nominated beforehand. So this, yeah, just says submitting by the 8th of September. And as Anzio said, then they have to finalize and publish that list. I'm just going to also copy and paste. These are guiding principles, which is inclusivity, accessibility, transparency, and citizenship ownership. I'm just going to copy and paste that out of the email as well. So hopefully that gives you guys, Colleen, yeah, I will post it on all my social media. I will send, so the people who signed up for this call, there were, I think there were about 60 or 70 odd people. Not everyone's joined the call, so I will put an email together with all of this information in, and I'll look to put this video, the full video, because when I live streamed on Facebook, it missed most of what Anzio said. So I will, this should be recorded in the cloud. I will upload it to the YouTube, and then I'll send a link with the YouTube so people can go back and watch this full meeting, and then links to that link to the National Dialogue resources with the documents on it, and then the email if people do want to nominate themselves or nominate somebody else. I think that's the easiest way to do it, because for us to try and collate ourselves by Sunday to then put forward some names is going to be difficult. So I feel like I'm passing the buck to them to make that decision a little bit. So yeah, I will put that on across all my social media, and I'll put it onto the operationwatershed.com website, and I will send you guys an email, and I will send my Operation Watershed database an email with the same information. So yeah, so I think, I don't know if anyone else has got any other questions or comments or anything, and then I think we can maybe start wrapping it up. Yes.
Hi everybody. Thanks, Hayley, for this platform that you've created to discuss, this, because this is very important, that as South Africans who are in the diaspora, we also have a voice in what is happening in our country. So I don't know how much time we have remaining, but I'd like to nominate myself for this. My name is Tandega Sibia. I live in Budapest. Originally, I came here to study. So I've completed my studies in PhD education. I'm a teacher by profession. So I've been teaching in South Africa for over 10 years in the past. And my interests really are in social cohesion and heritage, but also I'm interested in issues of sustainable development as well, how we can integrate these issues with education. So what I've been doing in the past, since I've been living here, is to involve different stakeholders back in South Africa in terms of, like last September, there was a heritage lecture that I organized with the help of an NGO here in Budapest that work with immigrants. So the main purpose basically was to spread positive vibes about South Africa, but also to promote South Africa, but also to spread South African heritage, or in Eastern Europe, because we'll understand that Eastern Europe, unlike Western Europe, there are those historical technicalities that make Eastern Europe not to be familiar with what is happening in the other parts of the world. So I've been trying to do that, working with the embassy as well, the South African embassy, and different academics back in South Africa. So like I said, that my interests are in academia. So I do believe that when we utilize, academia, we will be able to achieve a lot of positive goals. So as a teacher myself, I do believe that, teachers, are also at the core or at the center of this dialogue. So as teachers, we need to be given a space also in a platform, so that you are able to share our skills with other sectors as well, on how to to bring positive vibes, in our country. Of course, I'm not intending to stay here for long, but meanwhile, I'm still here. I'm planning, to work alongside with the embassy, and different stakeholders, especially the Department of Arts and Culture as well, the National Heritage Council. I've also involved them in the past. Of course, you'll know that sometimes the participation or the feedback or the interest is not as much as we anticipate, but I've tried my best to involve these different stakeholders. So I'm hopeful that as I go forward and I create more events about South Africa, there will be more interest as well from South Africa. And I believe that, being in this dialogue or in this platform, I'll be able to galvanize more support. Yeah.
Perfect. And I love that you say you're not going to be abroad forever, you're going back, and that's my whole driver. Is my long-term goal is to move back home, and that's why I want to do this, so that it's a more viable option. If we can drive that investment into the country and start making a dent on all the issues, it then becomes a more viable option for the 1 million to consider returning. So yeah, that's great. And I think education, I think it's jobs, safety, and education for me are probably the three biggest issues that we face. Sorry, I see Anzio's just joined. So Anzio, Thandeka's just nominated herself, put herself forward. She's based in Budapest and involved in her focus is in education. So yeah, so again, that's great that well done for putting yourself forward. And then even if, just to say, whoever nominates themselves and whoever is approved, whether it's 1 or 3 people, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because again, it's just us convening, working out who's doing what. There has to be a committee within the diaspora anyway to roll out dialogues, to roll out the the conversation aspect, as well as like building campaigns and projects and things. So even if you're not nominated onto that steering committee, you're still needed. So and I say that to myself as well, because there's no guarantee of whoever is put forward for nomination, of who's actually going to get that position. So that's perfect. So far we've got 3. We'll see if any more come up, maybe through social media. I'm just conscious of time. It is 2:10. We're going for a little bit over time. Is there anyone else on the call that would like to say anything? Anzio, I don't know if you've got any final remarks that you want to say, and then we can look to wrap this up. Again, just copy and paste the stuff that I've put in the comments. I will share it to you guys, everyone who registered, who's on the call and who registered for the call, everyone on my database for Operation Watershed, and I'll put it out to all my social media handles as well. So just so that it's can be spread far and wide, and then and people can know that deadline is looming for the 8th of September. So I don't know if there's anybody else who has anything to add.
If I may, Haley, just to say thank you for organizing this discussion today, and thank you for all of the contributions that have been made. I did have to step off for a few minutes, so I may have missed some, but I'll watch the recording. And also to emphasize that the steering committee process will conclude on the 8th of September. At the point that the process concludes, those who have been nominated will be called into a single meeting, and the nominees will then sit in a process of deciding how the steering committee will be constructed, and what subcommittees will then be created. So all of those whose names are being put forward will be part of the steering committee process. But just to note that there's the steering committee, which makes the day-to-day decisions, and there's streams that are part of the steering committee to accommodate the great numbers of people who are volunteering into this process. So that's what it will look like in practical terms moving forward. But just thank you again for the time and energy being put towards this. I do think, as you said, there are very many opportunities, especially for this community, to get engaged and involved, even if it is in self-organizing.
Perfect. Brilliant. Is there anyone else on the call that has any final comments before we wrap up? Sharon, I'm going to pick people now. Sharon, I know you've been very involved in the community.
Hello. Yes, no, I haven't got any questions. I'm happy to sit in the background, but help out, be a general dog's body, help out as much as possible, if needs be.
And I have worked with you before, so I know that you
Yeah,
mean
so
that
just
you
give
mean
a
it when
yell
you
if
say
you
it. Brilliant. Is there anyone else? I'm just seeing this. Who else is left here? We've got Christina, Deborah, Elizabeth, Gus, Matthew, Sabelo. Any of you guys got any final comments before we close?
Haley, just one question. I saw this, let's call it invite. I think it was on LinkedIn. We hosted a National Bra Day here in the United States a few years ago, and it was incredibly successful. Not even close to everybody who lives in this region showed up, but there were 136 people who came to this bra, enjoying some South African music, just the customs and traditions that we are familiar with. And there are a lot of Facebook groups. I don't have any social media. I guess I would call LinkedIn my only social media platform that I have. But there are many Facebook groups. I know what's happening there because my wife has Facebook, but there are groups such as Southern Africans living in Oklahoma or in Texas or wherever. And I can't help but believe, that a braai could bring 130 odd people here. It was really good. Everyone enjoyed themselves. We as a family are happily integrated into American culture. There is no culture like South Africa's culture, or almost, let's say, Southern Africa's culture, and one always feels incredibly, at home there. But the point I'm wanting to make is 130 people showed up for that event, and many did not, emphasizing how many folks just live in our region. I counted earlier, I think there are only 13 people on this discussion right now. If we want to succeed, we're going to have to have significant marketing, because make no mistake, one person, or it only takes one match to start a forest fire. But we are going to have to look at marketing. But I'll connect with you afterwards. I'd like to learn a little more about the group and make sure that the initiative is clearly understood. I think it's self-explanatory, but I just want to make sure that it is clearly understood. But certainly it does concern that there are only 13 individuals on this discussion this morning. And please, no, I'm not trying to criticize it at all. Everybody who made it here is making effort, and you certainly are. But I'll connect with you all I want to do is just give some options or advice on what I think could happen, because social media is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
I'm not on those platforms, but I have a sister and brother-in-law. We bought a bakery for them. They were teachers in South Africa for many years. And Thandeka, I agree with you, about the voice of teachers. I've always said that apart from parenting, I think teachers are the most important job in any country, because we're raising tomorrow's nation. And so my sister and her brother-in-law were teachers in South Africa at a prominent school, but were battling to make ends meet. We were fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to buy them a business. It's a little bakery and coffee shop here in the US. They moved here more than a year ago. And just because of the correct marketing, they now have over 100,000 views and followers on, 2 social media posts. All I'm trying to say is, this effort is going to need a watershed, you use the word watershed, movement and support. And I believe the hearts of everybody living abroad would support this initiative, but they can't if they don't know about it.
Yeah, no, that's part of my journey has been building relationships. It's mainly been with South African media. So I as I said, I wasn't going, because of so much negativity around this dialogue, I wasn't going to get involved. And then I kind of thought about it again. I sat and watched the 2-day recording on YouTube, sat through, I think it was a total of about 13 hours worth, and thought, hang on, we're actually missing an opportunity if we don't get involved. And even when I've put out, so I've had people giving like the laughing emoticon off one of the Newsroom Africa TV interview I did on Sunday, where I was hoping they would use the whole, most of the other media channels have used the titles around the dialogue and expats wanting to be involved in the dialogue. They use the title of South Africans wanting to be a 10th province constituency, which is a whole nother conversation around voting and the second ballot paper and all the rest of it. But a lot of people being negative about it, obviously those in South Africa saying, why should we have any say? And those abroad saying, what difference is it going to make? So it is, for me, using the Facebook groups, the LinkedIn, getting more influential people who've got like strong LinkedIn followings to share posts. So it's that process of, it's like we're building it live, like while people are watching, we're busy building this, we'll be building this thing. Using, like I said, I'm on, when I share, so I put out a post and then I literally just share. I think I'm on close to 200 Facebook groups. Some admins don't allow. I've been very fortunate. So particularly around the overseas voting last year, generally speaking, most Facebook group admins do not allow politics and charity, because it opens up cans of worms and then it detracts from the groups. Surprisingly, almost every group was allowing my posts. And again, because it wasn't party politics, it was information, how to register, if you've got any issues, updates on the registration portal, updates on the voting. So for me, that's why I've gone this civil society route, to be more neutral. And even being neutral, you're still going to get the kickback from people, but it's, like I say, it's pumping out as much marketing to as many channels as you can. You know, there's a lady who contacts me every now and then from BBC Africa. Do I know someone about this topic in South Africa, whatever, and then I connect her for interviews. So it's building, again, the more people, the more South Africans abroad we reach, they might have journalist contacts in that country, and if we can get a couple of hits, other people might see it, because not everyone follows South African media, not everyone's on the Facebook groups. So, and even if people are on, they don't always see those, you know, they don't spend their lives on those groups. It just might happen to be on their newsfeed. So pushing that will be really, really important. Getting influencers back in South Africa who are pro what we're doing to share, because it's like, hey, anyone in SA, who do you know abroad that you can share it with? And I think it's once you get going, once we say, hey, we are doing this campaign, we are doing this project, and especially if we start rolling out, you know, doing like webinars with the politicians. Oh, they're interviewing Schreiber from Home Affairs. Great. I've been waiting for my passport for a year. I want to go and listen to what this guy's got to say. Or social development, like Tandeka mentioned, or like, you know, business, whatever it might be. So it's, the harder we push now in these next 6 months to make sure that this isn't just a, oh, we're going to do this for 6 to 8 months and then we've done our bit, national dialogue's finished. Using this time to put all the nuts and bolts and put the structure in place properly and show that we mean business and build something to continue for the long term. So it'll build slowly. I mean, we had 73 people minus myself and Anzio registered on this. So 71 people, and we've not had many show up. So it's just sending them the link. Hopefully they will go and watch it, putting it out to all my different channels. Hopefully more people will watch it. Oh, I didn't see it. Or, oh, sorry, I forgot about it. Oh, actually, I want to get involved. Once that steering committee's been announced and then we start forming the committee, yeah, cool, I can get involved. Yeah, I've got contacts here. So it'll take a while. It'll take a good 3 or 4 months, I think, before we really kind of start seeing the nuts and bolts. And it's a friend of mine said there's 4 processes in any kind of teamwork. So it's storming, forming, norming, and performing. So this is storming. Then we've got to kind of get to the forming stage, which will come once this committee's been announced and we kind of create our own committee. And then it's the sort of forming and how do we do it, getting to know each other, all the teamwork, you know, it's humans dealing with humans at the end of the day. And then we get to the performing stage. So hopefully by the culmination of this dialogue process, May, June next year, we've got something really solid in place that we can then carry forward. So I think, unless there's any other final speak now or forever hold your peace comments to be made, I think I will wrap it up. Sorry, I just see there's somebody commenting. Oh, that was just Sharon's comment. So yeah, I'll wrap this up. And like I said, I will share the, hopefully upload this to YouTube and then share the link to those who registered to the Operation Watershed database across all the social media. And then, yeah, hopefully we can, if those of you on the call and anyone who's on the live stream, as you see it, share it, because there'll be groups that we don't know about or networks of people that we don't have access to. So it's literally just trying to each one reach one. You know, and if one person can onboard another person to get involved, following, liking, sharing, all that kind of thing, then great. Then we'll get there and hopefully prove our worth and prove our value by the end of this process, to the point where the government cannot ignore us, that we are so loud in their face and showing value that they are, you know, kind of really kind of dive into in helping and supporting what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so well done for staying on this long, everybody. I'm going to wrap it up and end this call. And if you guys want to reach out to me, all my social media handles are Safa Hayley. So linkedin.com, facebook.com/SAFFAHAYLEY. Website is operationwatershed.com. You can contact me on there if you want to sign up for the newsletters. And yeah, I will share this information and the link to this recording with you that you guys can share further. And we'll wait and see for that steering committee process to take place. But regardless of whoever gets nominated or accepted onto it, it really doesn't matter. We just need to light the firecracker under our own bums and get moving with it. So I'll say goodbye and thank you guys for staying on for so long. And yeah, onwards and upwards. And we've all got to just roll up our sleeves and get involved and play our part.
Thanks, Hayley.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Hayley.
Thank you very much, Hayley. Bye.
Welcome.
Bye.